To my fellow COMM 1313 students, you are probably about to graduate, start your professional career, and spend the rest of your days working for something. If you work 40 hours a week, let's say, you are about to spend more than 1/3 of all your waking hours working. Now that's a pretty big time commitment. So let me ask you this. Why? What are you working for? A lot of people seem to make it through life without asking this question beyond a surface level. People make it out of high school. They make it through college. They make it years into their professional career without stopping to ask why they put themselves through it. So, why? What are you working for? How about a better life? How about a better life? How about a life with more time? A life with more money? And a life with more freedom? Well, that sounds like a great goal. But I'm sure, as you've guessed, getting there is a little trickier. So here's where I'd like to introduce you to minimalism. Now, minimalism is a lifestyle movement and is a philosophy designed to help you brush off the distractions and live a more intentional life. I consider myself to be an amateur minimalist and enjoy the people-oriented values of the movement. And so today, I'd like to talk to you about some of the history behind it, as well as the two principles of intentionality and reduction behind the philosophy of minimalism. Now, the history of minimalism is a bit of a misnomer. If I'm being honest, it doesn't exist. There isn't any. While people have been developing philosophies for living for thousands of years, the philosophy of minimalism is younger than 20. Born out of recession, economic hardship, and an economy that convinces us that physical possessions are integral to happiness, minimalism began to spread via books, social platforms like YouTube and Netflix, bloggers, and creative minds just trying to share their message. In fact, one of these examples, released in 2016 on Netflix, the documentary Minimalism, directed by Matt D'Avella, shares the story of minimalism. From Colin Wright, who decided travel was important to him, so he got rid of everything but what fit in his backpacks, and he traveled the world for 4 years straight, to Leo Babauta, a writer who lives minimally and comfortably with his wife and large number of children, to Courtney Carver, who turned her life around and revolutionized new ways to simplify your life after being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. All these people, this documentary tells their stories, the people who are responsible for giving this philosophy a voice when it's still so new and young, and the people who will likely go down in history as the founders for this movement. In fact, I would highly recommend you watch the documentary, as it explains in much greater detail than I have time for, about the philosophies and principles of minimalism. And while it's definitely an oversimplification, I would argue that there are two principles that I feel define minimalism: intentionality and reduction. You see, in this consumerist society, much of what we buy has implications on our status. And so we're incentivized to seek stuff. We're incentivized to seek money, promotions, more hours, more options, more objects, more things, more stuff. And unfortunately, that is a fact. You see, because according to the 2020 Financial Planning Survey by First National Bank of Omaha, an estimated 53% of all Americans have no emergency funding, and 49% are living paycheck to paycheck. That's 160 million people. That's 160 million people. Matt D'Avella, film producer, director, and YouTube creator, asks frequently through his minimalist work, is stuff going to make you happy? If you have a 3-car garage, a beautiful home, and I don't know, like a boat, like, are you going to be happy? Or are you going to be happy when you have what you need? When you have amazing friends, memories, time, freedom, more money? That doesn't sound like a hard question to answer. Joshua Becker, a middle-aged father who lives minimally with his family in suburbia, blogs frequently and tries to get to the bottom of intentional decision-making. What would happen if you didn't spend any money on the things you don't want or the things you don't need? What would happen if you lived your life and not the life that society has tried to hand you through advertisements and instant gratification? See, here's where minimalism comes in. Intentionally decide what you want your life to look like. Your life to look like. Decide what enough looks like for you. Odds are you probably have plenty of things in your life that you don't need. Unused, untouched clutter, and other possessions that distract you from living the life that you want. Minimalism says get rid of it. Let go. From Project 333, reorganizing your closet, to Marie Kondo's tidying principles, there are a number of ways that you can let go and reduce these unnecessary things in your life. Reduce everything that pulls you from your path and intentionally pursue the life that you want to live every day. That's it. That's minimalism in a nutshell. And that sounds way too simple to be true. And maybe a lot of the best things sound that way. But in practice, this can be much harder. I'd say minimalism was founded by some pretty persistent people. Now, despite the movement's young history and simple principles, minimalism is just an attempt to live in today's world and seek a better life. And everyone has to come up with their own idea of how to live and what's important. And so, as you step off into this world, I'm sure that you will face difficulty and you will find success through your years. But bear in mind, though, that understanding other people's solutions to the problems that you face, that can give you insight into what's important and what solutions might work for you. So why? What are you working for? Thank you.